As you can see in the title, Kane Pixels, the talented creator behind the Backrooms and The Oldest View, has started a new project titled People Still Live Here. So far, the series consists of 3 episodes and is quite cryptic and strange. However, I'll do my best to explain what's happening here. Before we dive in, I'd like to thank all of you for the amazing support on the previous video and everyone who responded to the pinned comments question. Remember, if you want to be featured in the next video, make sure to reply to the pinned comment, which includes the following question. What are your theories about People Still Live Here? Without further ado, don't forget to leave your precious like and subscribe to help the channel grow and reach more people. Every like is one more coin to escape poverty. If you're unsure what to comment, just type meow in the comment section and I'll give you a heart in return. Comments are incredibly important and help the video a lot, so don't forget to leave yours. Welcome to People Still Live Here. The first video, titled Say Well, begins in a disturbingly unsettling way. The opening scene shows a piece of fabric hanging, peculiarly wrapped, while an eerie melody plays in the background. Shortly after, we see a close-up of someone's eyes who, as we discover a few seconds later, is lying on the ground, face up. Then a strange mechanism appears, followed by a shot of eyes opening and closing repeatedly, belonging to what seems to be a doll or animatronic. This doll turns out to be a real product called the Laugh-Un head, heads that would activate when their ties were pulled. The same tie is seen hanging at the beginning of the video, confirming the connection. From what we can see, the head is staring intently at the man, who eventually closes his eyes. After this, the scene shifts, showing a blue sky accompanied by the sound of Morse code in the background. When deciphered, the message reads, "And now my body has become one with a faraway land. I am the meadow and the sky all around. You work on the land, and so you work for the land. And in return, the land accepts you. You may think your work is finite and conclusive when the time comes to depart, but the land will always remember what you gave to it, and in time, you and your work will live on through the land." All of this is quite confusing, isn't it? Well, let's take a look at the next video before jumping to conclusions. The second video takes us to the gameplay of a 2005 video game that shares the same name as the series. It begins with a message explaining that the game is a complete reconstruction of the events experienced and documented by Clifton J. Saywell between 1934 and 1946. Alright, but who is this man? Well, if we follow the first link in the video description, we find a newspaper clipping from 1995 that sheds some light. Clifton J. Saywell, a lifelong resident of Bridgewater, passed away on February 12, 1994, at the age of 80. Born on February 8, 1914, he was known for his sharp mind and peculiar notebook. After World War II, he worked as a programmer and rate analyst for New England Telephone. In his later years, he lived under the care of his niece, Ann Timmerman. He was a quiet and introspective man, often seen walking near the edges of the Hockomock Swamp or sitting in the Bridgewater Public Library with his notebook. He is survived by several nieces and nephews, including Margaret Collins, an extended family. He will be buried alongside his parents at the Old St. Thomas Aquinas Cemetery. Donations in his memory may be made to the Bridgewater Public Library. The obituary also mentions another deceased family member remembered for their community volunteering, with donations directed to the Taunton Public Schools Scholarship Fund. Additionally, it includes an ad for a real estate course in Waltham offered by the American Real Estate Academy. Finally, we move to the title screen, and whoever is playing begins the game. you will return to that place. Do you remember the overgrown man from when you were a child? He said you must go to the meadow alone. You always wondered what he had meant by that. After this, the player appears in a swamp. Based on the opening text, this is none other than Hockomock Swamp, a place Clifton J. Saywell used to frequent. It's a real location in southeastern Massachusetts, whose name means place where spirits dwell. The name is fitting, as many have reported paranormal and UFO sightings there. The player looks around before advancing, eventually entering a sort of cabin with a strange symbol. Inside, there's a staircase leading to a hallway that feels entirely out of place. Reaching the end, the game begins. The player starts day 1, and it seems the goal is to find several objects before sunset. Interestingly, one of these objects ties into the story so far. A wampum is a type of cord or belt made primarily of shell beads, used ceremonially, socially, and economically by indigenous peoples of northeastern North America, such as the Wampanoag. The Wampanoag inhabited southeastern Massachusetts for thousands of years before European settlers arrived and considered Hockomock Swamp a sacred and mysterious place. This level of detail is one of the things I've always admired about Kane Pixels. Even the smallest elements that might initially seem insignificant can connect to the larger narrative. The player finds themselves in a vast meadow, a space we were already aware of. As is often the case, it's a liminal, desolate place, almost dreamlike. Only the sound of footsteps and the wind can be heard. Almost immediately, the player discovers one of the 3 objects, a clock. Looking up, they see a small house in the distance and decide to approach it for clues. Inside, the player finds a strange and out-of-place painting of a staircase, along with a drawing that shows the location of the next object. The drawing also includes an arrow pointing to a facility we'll see later. After obtaining the second object, the wampum, the player follows the arrow's direction and stumbles upon something unsettling. I never thought I'd say this, but what you see is a railroad sign speeding past the player. At first, this might seem nonsensical, but what if I told you it actually makes more sense than you'd think? Well, you'll have to wait a bit longer for that explanation. Eventually, the player reaches the facility, a large building with no apparent entrances. After searching for a while, they discover a passage leading directly inside, an office complex that, like the exterior, is entirely empty and lifeless. However, to everyone's surprise, the player encounters someone inside.
Oh, thank goodness. Finally, someone has opened the door. I've been stuck in this room forever. The shepherd's not mad, is he? I was just trying to look at the computers to see where my favorite people were moved to. It's been a long time since I've read computer words, though, so I can't figure out how to get their location out of the machine. I think it's time for me to go home. Thank you for opening this door.
After this surreal and strange dialogue, the player finds the final object. It's time to return to the starting point, and quickly. As they leave, the man reappears. If you thought the previous moments were strange, wait until you hear this.
Hey, you're not going to tell anyone I was here, are you? I mean, you're technically allowed to, but I would really appreciate it if you didn't. I don't want people to think I'm spying on their thoughts. I wouldn't do that. It is important to respect.
I don't want people to think I'm spying on their thoughts. What did he mean by that? Who is he? How did he get here? These are questions that remain unanswered for now. The player realizes night is falling and that thing is coming for them, getting closer by the second. Fortunately, they make it back in time, completing day 1. The video ends here. The third video is by far the shortest and shows a graveyard of railroad signs. The location appears to be the same, or very similar, to the one in the video game but in real life. One of the signs seems to activate, and as the person flees, the video abruptly cuts off, marking the end of the currently available content. Alright, so what can we conclude from all this, and how can we connect all the videos? To begin with, I believe the man we see lying on the ground at the start is none other than Clifton J. Saywell, given the title of the video, Saywell, and that we are witnessing the moment of his death. Next, we have the second video, a game based on what this man experienced between 1934 and 1946. In this video, we see text that says, "You lie awake, unable to take your mind off what you discovered out in the swamp." With this in mind, let's also remember that, according to the newspaper clipping, Saywell often visited Hockomock Swamp, a place known for strange occurrences. It's clear that something happened to him there, something deeply terrifying and incomprehensible to our minds. That something is reflected and adapted in the game. Everything we see there is something he experienced in some way. He might have even encountered a monster or an entity so indescribable that the game developers couldn't even model it and opted to use a railroad sign instead. The question is clear. What exactly did he see? As for the third video, honestly, I don't know what to tell you. This is only the beginning. There's still so much we don't know, and I might have gotten some details wrong. What do you think? If you believe I've missed something, don't forget to share it in the comments section. We'll be covering this series on this channel until the very end. It seems like this series has been in the works for quite some time, so let's see how Kane Pixels surprises us. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps me a lot. Also, follow me on my other social media platforms, where I upload exclusive short content you won't find on YouTube. And don't forget, you can now become a channel member. Just click the join button next to the subscribe button to enjoy tons of perks and exclusive emojis while supporting me. If you're interested, join. I'd be eternally grateful. Remember, this video was made by a cat, and cats can't talk. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.